She moved to a quiet New Zealand town chasing peace, community, and a fresh start. On Christmas Eve, strangers welcomed her to their table, but not to their hearts. What started as smiles and wine turned into silence, stereotypes, and one sentence that changed everything. New Zealand likes to call itself welcoming. Open landscapes, open hearts, open arms. At least, that's what the brochures say. For Amaya Johnson, that promise was everything. Amaya stood at the bus stop with 2 suitcases and one truth she hadn't said out loud yet. She was tired of being strong. Not weak, not broken, just tired. Auckland had been loud, busy, diverse, but lonely in its own way. Faces everywhere, but no one really seeing her. So when a job opportunity opened up in a small South Island town, population just under 6,000, it felt like fate tapping her on the shoulder. Fresh air, fresh people, fresh start. That's what she told herself. The town looked exactly like a postcard. Snow-dusted rooftops, wooden fences painted white, church bells that rang softly, like they didn't want to disturb anyone. People smiled here. They always smiled. At the cafe, at the grocery store, at the post office. But the smiles never lingered long enough to turn into conversations. Amaya rented a small cottage on the edge of town. 1 bedroom, 1 heater that groaned louder than it worked. A tiny porch where she drank tea every morning, wrapped in a blanket, watching for us melt off the grass. She liked the quiet. What she didn't like was the silence. Weeks passed. She learned names before people learned hers. Morning. How are you? Cold today, eh? Polite. Safe. Surface level. No one was rude. And yet, no one invited her in. Until December 22nd. It happened at the local bakery. She was paying for a loaf of bread when the woman behind her, mid-40s, blonde hair, wool coat, smiled wider than usual. "You're Amaya, right?" the woman asked. Amaya blinked, surprised. "Yes, that's me. I'm Karen. We live 2 houses down from you." Then, casually, like it was nothing at all, she said the words Amaya hadn't realized she'd been waiting to hear. "We're hosting Christmas Eve dinner. You should come." Amaya felt something open inside her chest. Hope. Careful. Quiet hope. She didn't answer right away. Not because she didn't want to go, because part of her was scared to want it. "What time?" she asked. Karen smiled. 6. Bring yourself. That night, Amaya sat on her bed staring at her closet. What do you wear to belong? Not too formal, not too casual, not too different. She chose a soft green dress, long sleeves, modest, warm. She straightened her hair, not because she needed to, but because experience had taught her that comfort wasn't always welcome. Christmas Eve arrived wrapped in snow. Lights glowed from every house. Laughter drifted through windows. Amaya held a bottle of wine in one hand and her nose in the other. She took a breath and knocked. Small towns don't shout their opinions. They whisper them, in glances held half a second too long, in questions that sound curious, but land heavy. Amaya felt it long before she could explain it. The first snow of December had settled comfortably into the town, like it belonged there. Amaya, on the other hand, still felt like a guest who'd overstayed her welcome, even though no one had ever told her to leave. Every morning, she walked the same route, past the church with its white steeple, past the cafe where the bell chimed when she entered, past a notice board filled with flyers for choir practice, farm auctions, and locals-only events that never said locals only, but somehow meant it. At the cafe, the barista smiled. "Flat white?" he asked. Amaya nodded. He remembered her order. That felt like progress. But when the cup slid across the counter, the conversation stopped there. The people behind her talked about schools their kids went to together, families that had lived here for generations, shared histories Amaya wasn't part of and wasn't invited into. She stirred her coffee slowly, pretending not to listen. She told herself she was imagining it. She had done that before, back in Auckland, at university, at work. Not everything is about race, she reminded herself. And yet, experience had taught her another truth. When you're the only one in the room who looks like you, everything quietly is. At the grocery store, an elderly man leaned closer than necessary. "You're not from around here, are you?" he asked, smiling. "No," Amaya said politely. "I moved recently." "Ah," he replied, nodding. Then came the pause, the familiar one. "Where are you really from?" Amaya answered calmly, "Auckland." He chuckled. "No, I mean originally." She smiled, the practice kind. "My parents are Jamaican, but I was born here." Right, he said, as if solving a puzzle. "Well, you people must miss the heat." You people. Amaya paid for her groceries and left with her chest tight. That phrase followed her home like a shadow. She sat on her couch, coat still on, staring at nothing. You people. Not said with anger, not even malice. Just distance. By mid-December, the Christmas invitation sat in her mind like a glowing question mark. Part of her was excited. Another part of her, the part shaped by years of similar rooms, was cautious. She remembered other dinners, other smiles, other moments where warmth turned conditional. Still, she chose hope, because isolation hurts more than disappointment. At least, at first. Christmas Eve arrived faster than she expected. Snow fell gently, as if trying not to interrupt anything. Amaya stood in front of Karen's house, lights wrapped around the porch, wreath on the door, laughter spilling through the windows. She could hear glasses clinking, music playing softly. She adjusted her coat and knocked. The door swung open. Karen beamed. "Amaya, you made it." Her voice was loud, a little too loud, like she was announcing Amaya's presence to the room. Several heads turned. Several eyes lingered. Amaya stepped inside. The warmth hit her first. Then the noise. People gathered around the dining table, wine glasses in hand. Mostly white, mostly middle-aged, comfortable. Someone whispered something she couldn't hear. Someone else smiled at her like she was an interesting detail. "This is Amaya," Karen announced. "She just moved here." A man stepped forward immediately. "Well, aren't you just exotic?" he said, laughing lightly like it was a compliment. Amaya froze for half a breath. "Exotic," she repeated softly. "Oh, I mean that in a good way," he rushed. "You know, different, interesting." Different, interesting, not normal. Another woman chimed in before Maya could respond. "Your hair is beautiful. Is it real?" Amaya touched her curls instinctively. "Yes," she said. "It's mine." The woman laughed awkwardly. "I just had to ask." "Of course you did." Wine was poured. Small talk floated around her like fog. "So what do you do? Do you like it here? Must be such a change from where you're from." Every question carried an invisible asterisk. Then came the sentence Amaya had heard too many times in her life. "You speak so well." She looked at the woman who said it, smiling, sincere. "Thank you," Amaya replied. But inside, something sank, because she knew the unspoken ending. For someone like you. Dinner was served. They sat at a long wooden table. Amaya noticed she was seated at the end, not intentionally, perhaps, but symbolically. Conversations flowed around her. She laughed when others laughed, nodded when expected, smiled when uncomfortable. Then the joke started. At first, harmless. Then, less so. A story about a dodgy Santa in Auckland. A joke about gangs ruining Christmas. A comment about neighborhoods you don't drive through at night. Each one landed closer to her than the last. She waited for someone to notice. No one did. Amaya's wine glass was refilled. "Go on," someone said cheerfully. "Loosen up." She took a sip. The warmth spread, but it didn't relax her. It sharpened her awareness. Then came the line that cracked something open. A man leaned back in his chair, laughing. "I bet you're used to a very different kind of Christmas dinner back home." The table chuckled. Amaya didn't. Silence stretched. Her heartbeat filled her ears. This wasn't curiosity anymore. This was assumption dressed as humor. Stereotypes served with gravy. She set her glass down. Slowly, carefully. The room noticed. She stood. Some moments whisper. Others demand to be heard. Amaya chose not to disappear. Amaya stood there. No raised voice. No shaking hands. Just stillness. The kind of stillness that makes people uncomfortable because it demands attention without asking for it. Every eye at the table was on her now. Some curious, some confused, some already defensive. The man who had made the joke smiled nervously. "Oh, come on," he said. "It was just a bit of fun." Amaya nodded slowly. "I know you think it was," she replied. Her voice was calm, steady, "but I want to tell you what it felt like on this side of the table." She looked around the room, at the decorations, the candles, the plates of food meant to symbolize togetherness. "You invited me here tonight," she said, "and I was grateful, truly." A pause, but somewhere between the door and this table, I stopped being a guest. People shifted in their seats. I became a curiosity, Amaya continued. An accent, a background story, a joke. No one laughed now. "When you called me exotic," she said, turning slightly toward the man, "I don't think you meant to insult me." He opened his mouth to speak, then closed it. "But that word," she said softly, "is what you use for things that don't belong where they are." She turned to the woman who had commented on her speech. "And when you told me I speak so well, I know you thought you were being kind." The woman's smile faltered, "But that sentence carries a history you may never have had to learn." Amaya took a breath. "I have spent my whole life proving that I belong in rooms like this." Her voice didn't crack. That was the most devastating part. "I was born in this country, educated here. I work here. I pay taxes here." She placed her hand flat on the table. "And yet tonight, I was reminded that to some of you, I'm still visiting." Someone cleared their throat. Another shifted uncomfortably. No one interrupted. "You laughed at jokes that weren't about Christmas," Amaya said. "They were about fear, about assumptions, about people you think you know." She shook her head gently. "And I sat here trying to decide which version of myself would make you most comfortable." Her eyes met Karen's. That is a heavy thing to ask of someone you invited into your home. Silence. Thick. Pressing. Then Amaya said the sentence that split the room in two. "Christmas is supposed to be about love." Her voice softened. "But love without respect is just decoration." No one breathed. "I didn't come here to accuse anyone," she continued. "And I didn't come here to ruin your evening." A faint, sad smile. "I came here hoping to be seen." She stepped back from the table. "I won't pretend this didn't hurt." Another pause. "But I also won't carry it quietly anymore." Amaya reached for her coat. "I hope tonight makes you uncomfortable," she said gently, "because discomfort is where change begins." She turned toward the door, and then something unexpected happened. As Amaya reached the door, a chair scraped softly against the floor. Someone stood up, not loudly, not dramatically, just deliberately. "I'm sorry." The voice was quiet, female, steady. Amaya toned. It was a woman who had barely spoken all evening. She had noticed her earlier, sitting slightly apart, listening more than talking. Her name, Amaya now learned, was Ella Martin. "I should have said something sooner," Ella continued. "And I didn't." Her eyes glistened, not with tears, but with shame. "And that makes me part of it." The room froze again, but this time the silence felt different. "I've heard these jokes before," Ella said. "I've laughed along sometimes, or stayed quiet." She swallowed, not because I agreed, but because it was easier. Ella looked directly at Amaya. "What you said was true," she said. "And brave." Karen shifted uncomfortably. Someone stared at their plate. No one stopped Ella. "This town likes to think of itself as kind," Ella continued. "But kindness that depends on silence isn't kindness at all." She turned to the others. "We don't get to decide what hurts someone else." Then she did something small, but profound. She held out her hand. To Amaya. "I'm sorry you were put in this position," Ella said, "and I'm grateful you didn't let us stay comfortable." Amaya looked at the hand. For a moment, she didn't move. Then she took it. Their hands clasped, warm, human, real. "I don't know how to fix this overnight," Ella said quietly, "but I want to start." She hesitated, There are others in this neighborhood who feel the same way, but don't speak up. She leaned closer. We're having a small gathering tomorrow. Just a few of us. No performances. No pretending. A pause. You'd be welcome. Amaya felt something unfamiliar rise in her chest. Not relief. Not forgiveness. Possibility. She nodded. Thank you, she said. That means more than you know. Outside, the snow had begun to fall again. Amaya stepped into the night. The cold bit her cheeks. But for the first time since she arrived in town, she didn't feel invisible. She walked slowly down the street, lights glowing behind windows. Not all of them hers. Not yet. Belonging isn't given by invitation. It's built by truth, courage, and a refusal to stay silent. As Amaya disappeared into the snowfall, words faded onto the screen. Sometimes, standing out is the only way to make real change. Christmas isn't about fitting in. It's about being human. The snow muffled the town. Every footstep Amaya took sounded softer than the last, as if the world itself was trying not to interrupt her thoughts. Streetlights glowed amber, casting long shadows across the road. The same road she had walked dozens of times since moving here. But tonight, it felt different. For the first time, she wasn't replaying conversations in her head. Not the jokes, not the comments, not the looks. She had said what needed to be said, and that mattered. Amaya stopped for a moment, letting snow settle into her hair. Cold, real, present. She exhaled slowly. Strength, she realized, isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just refusing to disappear. Back in her cottage, the heater hummed softly. She set her coat down, poured herself a glass of water, and sat by the window. Outside, the town continued as it always had. Inside, something had shifted. She thought of Ella, of the hand extended not in apology alone, but in accountability. Change didn't arrive in crowds. It arrived in moments like that. Not everyone who stays silent agrees with the harm. Some are just afraid of losing their place. But silence protects comfort, not people. The next evening, Amaya walked to a different house. No decorations overdone. No performance of kindness. Just a small group. Ella greeted her with a quiet smile. Inside, conversation flowed naturally. No one asked where she was really from. No one treated her presence like a lesson or an exception. She was simply there. Later, as Amaya walked home again, this time lighter, she understood something clearly. Belonging doesn't mean shrinking to fit. It means finding spaces that don't ask you to. If you've ever been the only one in the room, if you've ever been welcomed, but not included, if you've ever been asked to smile through something that hurt, this story is for you. You don't owe silence to anyone's comfort, and you don't need permission to speak your truth. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is stand up calmly and stay human. Change doesn't begin with perfect people. It begins with honest ones. Stories like this don't end when the video does. They continue in conversations, in courage, in community. If this story stayed with you, you're not alone.